It's late tonight. The kind of late that makes silence louder, when the world softens just enough for memories to slip through the cracks. I don't know why you showed up in my thoughts again. Maybe it's the way the wind sounded like footsteps outside my window, or the way the street lamp flickered like it used to in front of your apartment. Or maybe it's just because I never really asked you to leave. Not from my heart. Not from the quiet corners where you still live. You should know I haven't erased you. I couldn't. I've tried, in ways both loud and quiet. I tried turning our songs into background noise. I tried folding the memories into boxes and hiding them behind everyday things. I even tried rewriting the way I remembered you, telling myself we were never meant to last, that I was just a chapter you skipped through. But even lies get tired when they're whispered too often. The truth is, you were never just a passing moment. You were a season, an entire lifetime condensed into a few years. Or maybe it was only months or days. Time gets blurry when the heart breaks. But what I do remember is how you made everything feel like it mattered. How suddenly ordinary days carried weight, and how my laughter sounded different with you in the room. You weren't just someone I loved. You were the shape I molded my world around. I rearranged my dreams, softened my edges, made space where there wasn't any, just to keep you close. And even when you started slipping away, I clung to the echo of you, hoping maybe if I held on tight enough, you'd remember why you stayed in the first place. But love doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't always reward effort or faith or even kindness. Sometimes it just walks out, quietly, like it never promised anything at all. I still remember the sound of the door that day. It didn't slam, it clicked. Gentle, final, like the last note of a sad song. And I stood there, in the middle of the silence you left behind, wondering if you looked back once more before you left, wondering if any part of you wanted to stay. People keep telling me to move on, that holding on to something broken only cuts deeper. But how do you let go of someone who feels like a part of your own skin? How do you forget the way their name sounded in your mouth, like it was always meant to be there? I walk through rooms and still see you in the way the light hits the floor, in the way a coat hangs on the back of a chair, in the half-drunk cup of coffee I forget on the windowsill. You haunt me, not like a ghost, but like a memory that refuses to fade. Some nights I still dream of you, not the version that left, but the one that stayed. The one that laughed into my neck at 2 a.m., the one that danced with me in kitchens, the one that promised to try. In those dreams, nothing ever breaks. We just keep turning pages, soft and safe, like the ending was never written. But I always wake up, and that's the cruelest part. Waking up to a world that doesn't include you anymore. A world that keeps moving, keeps breathing, while I'm still caught in the moment your absence began. You didn't just leave. You rewrote the rhythm of my days, took the music out of mornings and the warmth out of nights. And I've been learning to breathe differently ever since. I think what hurts most is that I never got to say the things I carried, the words I folded into corners of my heart, waiting for the right time. But the right time never came. It rarely does. Life doesn't wait for you to catch your breath before it moves on. So here's what I never said. You mattered more than I ever let on, more than my pride allowed, more than the silence that built between us. You broke something in me that I didn't know could break, not like glass shattering, but like a string coming undone, unraveling everything it once held together. I'm not angry at you. I'm not even sure I know how to be. I think I'm just tired of missing someone who no longer wonders how I am. You left, but you didn't vanish. You left fingerprints in places no one else will ever touch. And that's the kind of hurt that doesn't scream. It lingers, quiet, heavy, familiar. I passed by places that used to be ours and feel a tug in my chest. It's not just nostalgia, it's something deeper, like a ghost of a life that could have been, brushing past me in a crowd. I still have that sweater you forgot. It doesn't smell like you anymore, but sometimes when I wrap it around me, I pretend it does, just for a second, just to remember. I know this letter won't reach you. I know you're probably somewhere new now, smiling at someone who makes your world feel like I once did. And maybe that's okay. Maybe love doesn't always end with a return. Sometimes it just leaves behind a soft ache and a lesson you didn't ask for. But I needed to write this, not because I expect an answer, but because my soul needed to speak. To the one who broke it, to the one who made it feel full, then empty. You were a sunrise and a storm, a song and a silence, a beginning I mistook for forever. And maybe one day I'll look back at all this and smile, not because it didn't hurt, but because it meant something, because you meant something. But tonight, in the quiet where your name still echoes, I'll just let myself feel. Let the weight of you settle like snow on a forgotten bench, cold, beautiful, still waiting for spring. I don't know if I'll ever stop writing you letters in my head, but this one comes from the part of me that still flinches when someone asks about love. And maybe that's what you became, not just a person, but a question that never gets answered. A soft, aching space where my soul still waits for yours to return, even though I know it won't. Not really. Not in the way I need. Not in the way I dreamed. But still, I wait, quietly, gently, in case you ever turn around. And if you do, even for just a second, I hope you know you were loved, even after, even still. Do you remember that night? The one where the sky felt too close and the stars looked like they were eavesdropping. We sat on the steps, you and I, with nothing between us but the quiet and the kind of closeness that doesn't ask for permission. I don't remember what we said. I just remember how it felt, like the world had paused to give us that moment, like time was folding around us, trying to memorize us too. I've replayed that memory more times than I can count, not because I miss the night, but because I miss who we were inside it, before the unraveling, before the silences grew teeth and the tenderness forgot how to stay. You laughed that night, remember? That unguarded, almost childlike laugh. It didn't last long, but it stayed with me. I still hear it sometimes when I walk past places that held us. I used to think it would fade, that if I stopped revisiting the memories, they'd eventually stop revisiting me. But they don't. They show up uninvited, soft at first, then sharp, like a song you can't get out of your head, even though it hurts every time the chorus plays. There's so much I never told you, not because I didn't want to, but because I was afraid. Afraid that if I opened my chest wide enough for you to see all the parts you'd broken, you might not want to stay. I thought maybe if I smiled through the splinters, you wouldn't notice the bleeding. But now I think maybe you noticed. Maybe you saw the damage and didn't know what to do with it. Or maybe you caused it and looked away. I'll never know. And maybe that's the worst part, the absence of closure. The way some stories don't get a final chapter, just a sudden blank page. Sometimes I wonder what you think when you remember me, if you remember me at all. Do you ever pass by someone who wears their hair like mine, or laugh at a joke we once shared and feel that brief sting of recognition? Or has your memory folded me away so neatly that even the scent of me wouldn't stir a thing? I still keep your messages, the old ones, the ones where your words sounded like promises, even if they weren't. I know I should delete them, but every time I try, my fingers hesitate. as if they know that once they're gone, some part of you becomes harder to touch. And I'm not ready for that yet. Not ready to let go of the illusion that maybe, somewhere, you still carry a version of me too. I walked by that cafe last week, the one where you always ordered black coffee and made fun of me for putting too much cream in mine. They've changed the chairs, painted the walls, but the ghost of us still lingers at the corner table. I stood outside for a minute too long. The waitress looked at me like I was lost. Maybe I was. It's strange, the things that become sacred after someone leaves. A song, a coat, a certain kind of weather, even the scent of rain on concrete. They all carry pieces of you now. Little reminders scattered across the landscape of my days, whispering that you were real, even if you're not here anymore. You know, I've met people since you. People who were kind. People who looked at me with softness. People who offered open hands instead of closed doors. And yet, I kept searching their faces for your eyes, kept listening for your rhythm in their words. I didn't mean to compare, it just happened. Because when someone carves themselves into your soul, even kindness feels like a poor substitute. You were a blueprint I didn't know I was drawing. And now I keep measuring new beginnings against a love that never finished building itself. I'm not angry at you. I want you to know that. There were days I tried to wrap my grief in rage because it felt safer than sadness, but it never lasted. My anger was always a thin veil over something much softer, something more honest. I loved you, still do, in ways I can't explain without sounding foolish. But maybe foolishness is a kind of faith too, believing in what no longer believes in you. And I did believe in you, in us, even when it was crumbling, even when you were already somewhere else in your mind, leaving me piece by piece, breath by breath. I think what hurt most wasn't that you left, it was how you left. Quietly, without a goodbye big enough for the size of our story, like a sunset that vanished before I could watch it fade. You gave me no ending, so my soul keeps writing you into every silence. Sometimes I speak to you in my head, in the spaces between dreams, in the hush before sleep swallows me. I tell you things I wish I'd said when your hand was still in mine, like how I noticed the way you looked out windows when you were overwhelmed, or how your voice changed when you spoke about your childhood, or how I memorized your breath next to mine, like a lullaby no one else would ever hear. I knew you better than you thought, and still you left before I could show you just how much of you I held. You were a storm that I welcomed with open arms. And even when it wrecked everything, I kept saying, "But look how beautiful the lightning is." I've been quiet about you. I don't tell people your name anymore. Don't share our story in casual conversations. It's become something sacred, something I tuck into the lining of my jacket, close to my heart, where no one can touch it. But the truth is, you were my once-in-a-lifetime, the kind of love that people write books about, the kind that doesn't need to last forever to feel infinite. And maybe you'll never know that. Maybe you'll never read this. But if somehow, somewhere, a part of you still listens to the sound of my soul, this is what I need you to hear. You were more than just a chapter. You were the book I wanted to reread until the pages wore thin. And even now, even after all this time, I still find myself reaching for the places where your presence used to be. Still looking over my shoulder, wondering if somehow, by some impossible twist of fate, you're looking back too. Because love like this doesn't disappear. It lingers, it whispers, it waits. Even in the dark, even in the quiet, even when it knows the door won't open again. I've started to forget the sound of your voice, not all of it, just the small tones between your words, the softness you used when you said my name, the way you drew out certain vowels when you were tired. It's fading, slowly, like mist lifting from the lake after sunrise. And I think that's what scares me most, that time is doing what I couldn't, that it's peeling you from me without permission. But some things stay. Like how your hand always found mine when we walked across the street, even when traffic wasn't there. Or the way you sat with one foot tucked under the other, as if you were always trying to get a little smeller, a little closer. The way you looked at me when I wasn't watching. I saw it in reflections, windows, puddles, silver spoons. Your gaze carried something I still don't have the right name for. Maybe love, maybe longing, maybe a quiet kind of goodbye you were already rehearsing. I remember the mornings most of all, the ones where we didn't have to rush, when light filtered in through the blinds and painted your skin in gentle stripes. You always looked softer in the morning, more human, less guarded, and I would lie there pretending to be asleep just to keep you a little longer in that untouched silence. You once told me you didn't like silence, said it reminded you of things people didn't say. But with you, silence felt like music. It was the safest sound I knew. Until it wasn't. Until silence meant distance. And then disappearance. There was this one afternoon, I think about it often. We sat on the floor, eating takeout from the containers, too lazy to find plates. You had rice stuck to your cheek, and I didn't tell you because I wanted to remember you that way. Unguarded, real, mine. You laughed at something I said. I don't remember the words, but I remember your eyes closing slightly when you laughed, like the world didn't need watching for that 1 second. That memory lives in a quiet part of me, the kind that doesn't age. The kind that still believes if I walked into that room again, you'd be there, sitting cross-legged, chopsticks in hand, offering me the last bite, even though we both knew you wanted it. Do you ever think about me like that, in those tiny, unfinished memories that never made it to the goodbye? Sometimes I wonder if you kept anything, a photo, a trinket, a thread of me you couldn't cut. I kept everything, not physically maybe, but emotionally. You're stitched into songs, into scents, into places I haven't dared revisit. I opened a drawer last week and found a movie stub from a night we got caught in the rain. I sat on the floor and stared at it like it was proof that we were real. Because that's what grief does. It makes you gather evidence. Evidence that what you felt wasn't imagined, that the smiles weren't rehearsed, that the love wasn't one-sided. And God, how I loved you. Not the kind of love that screams or breaks windows or begs to be chosen. It was quieter than that, steadier. The kind of love that waited without being asked, that listened between pauses, that memorized your coffee order and the way your shoulders tensed when you were pretending to be fine. I never wanted to fix you, just hold the pieces, let you rest, let you be. I think that's what makes this emptiness so full, knowing I gave you space to stay, and still you left. People keep saying, you'll love again, as if love is something you can repeat with the same flavor, the same depth. But I haven't. I haven't even tried, because I know what they don't. That when you've loved like this, like your soul tied a string to someone else's, you don't just look for new hands, you look for that same pull, that same ache, that same warmth in the cold. And I haven't felt it, not even close. There have been others, smiles, conversations, even the beginnings of something kind, but they all fell short. Not because they weren't enough, but because I was still filled with you, and no one deserves to be a placeholder for someone who left. I tried, though, to move forward, to stitch a life from what was left. I filled my days with noise, traveled, rearranged my furniture, changed my shampoo, wore different colors. I even stopped visiting the places we called ours. But it didn't work, because memory isn't tied to geography, it's tied to feeling. And you were a feeling, one I still carry, like a hum under my skin, like a shadow that doesn't leave at noon. I sometimes imagine what I would say if I saw you again. Would I cry? Would I smile and pretend to be okay? Would I ask why? Or would I just fall silent, overwhelmed by everything that never found its way into words? I think I'd tell you that I still remember how you looked when you were about to say something important but changed your mind. That little inhale, the way your eyes drifted sideways, like you were trying to find courage on the ceiling. And maybe I'd say this: you didn't just leave me, you left inside me. There's a hallway in my heart that still has your name on the door. I don't open it often, but I know it's there, still full of the things we never got to finish. I wonder if there's a version of us that made it, in some parallel line where timing was kinder and wounds didn't speak louder than love, where you stayed, where I didn't have to write letters into the dark, hoping the wind carries them somewhere near you. I'd like to believe that version exists, that somewhere you and I are still laughing on a rainy Thursday, sharing stories, stealing fries, forgetting the world outside our little orbit. But here in this reality, I'm just someone who still reaches for your ghost when sleep feels too far away. And tonight, like so many nights before, I'll lie in the dark and listen to the quiet. The same quiet that once held your breath beside mine. I'll press a hand to my chest and feel the echo of you, faint but still there. And I'll whisper one more thing you'll never hear. You were home. And I still don't know how to live without a place to return to. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can leave and yet the absence becomes louder than their presence ever was. You're gone, but everything still moves around you. Every decision I make, every place I avoid, every part of me that refuses to stitch itself back together. It's like you became gravity, not here, but still pulling, still affecting the tides of me. There are mornings where I wake up and for a second forget that you're not part of my day anymore. Just a second, just long enough for the illusion to feel real. Then it hits, like cold water poured over a dream, and I remember you're not coming back, and I have to carry that truth again, all day, every day. No one prepares you for the kind of silence that follows a love like ours. Not the peaceful kind, the heavy kind, the kind that sits on your chest when the world is quiet and presses its weight into your ribs until your breath catches. I carry that silence like a second skin. Some days it feels like armor, other days like chains. I used to be someone who believed in healing, in time, in the resilience of the heart. But losing you didn't just bruise me, it rewired me. It taught me that some losses don't get smaller, you just grow around them. And I haven't grown far. I still look for you in places that should have let you go by now. In reflections, in music, in the way the rain falls against my window. The rain has a way of bringing you back, doesn't it? It slows the world down, makes space for memory, makes it harder to lie to myself about being okay. I'm not okay, not really. People think I am, and I let them. I smile when I'm supposed to, I nod, I answer messages, I do the things life demands. But there's a quiet part of me that's frozen in time, still sitting in the moment you walked away, still holding everything I never got to say. I didn't just lose you. I lost the version of me that existed when you loved me. And I miss her too. She was softer, brighter. She laughed easier, trusted more. She believed in mornings and phone calls and promises made under blankets. She believed that love was enough if you gave it everything. She doesn't live here anymore. What's left is someone who double-checks every word before she speaks, who hesitates before reaching out, who keeps her guard up even when no one's knocking. You didn't just leave, you taught me how to flinch. Do you know what that kind of hurt feels like? The kind that isn't sharp or sudden, but slow, lingering, like a house with a broken window you can't afford to fix, so you just learn to live with the draft. The ache becomes part of the architecture. I live inside that ache now, and it's quiet. God, it's so quiet. No more good morning texts, no more calls just to hear my voice, no more shared silence that felt like home. Just me and the echo of everything that used to be us. I used to sit on the edge of the bed and imagine your hand brushing mine. That simple gesture that always meant more than words. It grounded me, made me feel like the world wasn't so chaotic. Like no matter what happened out there, in here, with you, I was safe. And now I sleep on one side of the bed, not because I need space, but because I can't bring myself to cross into yours. It still feels like trespassing, like I'd be walking into a memory I have no permission to touch. They say you should talk to the people you miss, write to them, say the things left unsaid. But how do you speak to someone who is no longer listening? How do you send words into a void and not expect them to return hollow? I've been holding conversations with you in my head, in dreams, in the pause between songs. I ask you why you didn't fight for us, why you let silence win. I imagine you telling me you were scared, that you didn't know how to stay, that you loved me, but it wasn't enough. I don't know if that's true, but it's the only answer that makes the pain feel less cruel. I walk differently now, slower, as if every step forward risks stepping over a memory. I find myself staring at strangers, wondering if they carry absences too, if they know what it feels like to be haunted by someone who's still alive, just not in your world anymore. You left, but you didn't disappear. You're in the song that plays when I'm alone in the car, in the smell of that bookstore we used to hide in when the world felt too much, in the flicker of gold light across my wall at sunset. You're everywhere, and nowhere, and I don't know which hurts more. There's something cruel about the way life keeps moving, as if nothing shattered, as if my world didn't end quietly while the rest of the city kept going. I still remember the exact sound of the air the day you left. It didn't cry, it didn't thunder, it just shifted, as if even the atmosphere was holding its breath. I haven't breathed properly since. I miss you. Not the way you left, but the way you stayed. The way your presence filled a room like a soft wind. The way you understood my silences. The way you made even the mundane feel sacred. I would have stayed. If it were me, I would have stayed. I would have learned your shadows and made peace with them. I would have held your fear in my hands and kissed it until it felt like love. I would have chosen you again and again, even on the days you didn't choose yourself. But maybe that was the difference. Maybe I believed in us enough for both of us. And maybe that wasn't fair to ask. So here I am, writing this into the night, hoping the wind still remembers your name, hoping some part of this reaches you. Not to bring you back, I'm not that naive, but to let you know that even in your absence, you've shaped me. Not all the changes were gentle, but they were real. You broke my soul, but you were once the reason it sang. And maybe that's what makes this pain so beautiful. It came from something real, something full, something that mattered, even if it didn't last, even if it wasn't enough, even if it never returns. I've been trying, not in some grand, heroic way, not with fireworks or milestones, just quietly, patiently, one breath at a time, one step that doesn't lead me back to you. I wake up, I move through the day, I fill the spaces where your name used to echo. I laugh when I can, and I answer when someone calls my name. And still, somewhere beneath it all, you're there. You're in the way I glance over my shoulder when I hear a familiar laugh, in the way my fingers freeze before opening a song we once danced to, in the way I hesitate before walking into a room that feels like it remembers you too. Healing isn't what I thought it would be. I used to believe it would arrive like spring, that one morning I'd wake up and the ache would be gone, that I'd open the windows and the air would smell new, that the pieces would stitch themselves back together and I'd feel whole again. But that's not how it works. It's quieter than that, slower. It looks more like making tea for one and not feeling betrayed by the empty chair. Like hearing your name and no longer flinching, but still looking away. Like learning how to smile without pretending. But still, I miss you. Not every second, but often enough that I know I'm not free yet. I'll be walking through the grocery store, lost in thought, and suddenly see something you loved. A brand of cookies, that weird chili oil you put on everything. And for a moment, my chest tightens, as if my body still believes you're just one text away. As if some part of me still hopes to run into you in the next aisle. I never do, and yet I always look. The other day, someone asked me if I was seeing anyone. I smiled, shrugged, changed the subject. How could I explain that I'm still learning how to make room for someone who isn't you? That I've mastered the art of appearing open while keeping the door locked from the inside? Because the truth is, I don't want to replace you. I want to forget wanting you. But even that feels like betrayal. Because no matter how many months pass, no matter how far the calendar drifts from our last day, you still feel close. Closer than the people who actually stayed. Maybe because you were never just a person to me. You were a feeling, a frequency, something I tuned my heart to even when it hurt. And I still wonder, do you ever think of me? Not just in passing, not just as someone you used to know, but really think of me? Like when you're brushing your teeth and that old song comes on and your chest catches for no reason. Or when you walk through a street we once strolled and the memory shows up like a whisper. Do I ever haunt you the way you haunt me? Because some nights when the sky is too quiet and my chest feels too full, I swear I feel your memory breathe. Like it's alive, like it still wants something. But maybe that's just me, wishing you missed me too. I keep picturing what it would be like if we ran into each other. Would we freeze, smile politely? Would your eyes soften? Or would they look through me like I'm just another face in the crowd? I don't know which would hurt more. I imagine you're okay. You always had that ability to move on with grace, to adapt. Maybe you're with someone new now. Maybe they make you laugh in the ways I never could. Maybe you found the kind of peace we only touched in passing. If that's true, I hope they love you well. But part of me wonders, did they know the way your voice breaks when you're exhausted? Did they know the scar on your shoulder from when you fell off your bike at 13? Do they know you sleep curled up too tight when you're anxious, like you're trying to protect your heart in your sleep? Do they know how deeply you feel, even when you hide it? I did. Even if you never said it aloud, I knew. And maybe that's why this loss cuts so deep. Because I didn't just lose a lover. I lost someone I saw completely. Someone I held in their most vulnerable form. Someone I believed I could build a life with, even when the roof started to leak. I don't regret loving you, even if it ended in silence. Even if it left me questioning everything I thought I knew about trust. Even if I still wake up reaching for a hand that isn't there. Because what we had, whatever it was, whatever it meant, was real, and that matters. Even now, in the aftermath. Even as I sort through the debris and try to build something livable from what's left. Even as I smile at strangers and learn how to be soft again. You were part of my becoming and part of my breaking, and I carry both. There's a corner of my soul that still lights up when I think of you laughing. Not because I want to go back, not because I want to start over, but because some memories deserve to be treasured, even if the people in them don't stay. And you, no matter the pain, are part of that treasure. So I continue. I keep trying. I keep waking up, drinking my coffee, writing in the margins of my days. I go on long walks without waiting for someone to hold my hand. I cook for one. I cry when no one's watching. I laugh when something truly feels funny. I listen to music that doesn't remind me of you. And sometimes I even sing along. I'm not healed, but I'm healing, and that's something. Maybe someday I'll tell someone new about you. Maybe I'll describe you as a storm I once danced in, a fire I once got too close to, a name I once whispered like a prayer. Maybe I won't say your name at all. Maybe I'll just carry you quietly, like a poem too personal to share. Until then, I write these letters to you, to myself, to the part of me that still aches. To the part of me that still hopes you remember me, not just as the one who loved you, but as the one who stayed long after you left. You may never hear this, but I need to say it anyway. You changed me, not just in the way people say after heartbreak, not in the way we talk about lessons or growing stronger. No, you changed the very lens through which I see the world. You colored everything. And even now, after all the silence, after all the space between us, I still find pieces of you stitched into how I move through my days. There are mornings I wake up, and for a brief moment, I feel like I did when you used to lie beside me, before the distance, before the ache. I breathe in, and there's still a trace of you in the quiet. I don't mean your scent, I mean your presence, the weight of having once been known. That's what I miss most, not just the love, but the knowing. You knew the way I liked my eggs, how I always touched my earlobe when I was overthinking, how I never quite finished my tea but always made a fresh cup anyway. You knew the look on my face when I was pretending to be fine. You knew how to calm me with a single word. And I knew you too, in ways I think you never really understood. I saw past your smiles. I knew what it meant when you stayed quiet in a crowd. I knew when your eyes were holding more than your voice could carry. I knew when your heart was tired. And I loved you anyway, especially then. I think some people don't know how to be loved like that. They don't know what to do when someone sees them fully and still chooses to stay. And maybe that's why you left. Maybe being seen made you feel naked. Maybe it was too much, too soon. Or maybe it was exactly what you needed, and that's what scared you. I'll never know. You never told me. But I've stopped asking. Not because I don't care, but because I've learned that not every silence needs to be filled. Some questions are meant to be carried, not answered. Still, the ache lingers. It's in the way I hold people now, more gently, more cautiously. It's in the way I listen, hoping to hear what isn't said. It's in the way I sometimes close my eyes and feel a phantom touch on my shoulder. Yours, always yours. You taught me how deep love can run, how it can wrap around your bones and echo through your skin, how it can make you feel alive and then leave you hollow, how it can be both the light and the darkness that follows. And yet, despite everything, it was beautiful. I won't pretend it was all perfect. We had our shadows, our messes, our missed connections, but there was light too, so much light. You brought joy into places I didn't know were empty. You made laughter ring through rooms that had forgotten how to echo. You gave me something to believe in, even if it didn't last. I used to think that meant it failed, that love only mattered if it stayed. But now, I'm not so sure. Maybe some love isn't meant to last forever. Maybe it's meant to come in like a storm, shake everything loose, and then leave you to rebuild, stronger, wiser, softer. I don't feel strong yet, but I do feel softer. more open to the pain of others, more aware of the quiet ways people break, more willing to sit in someone else's silence and just be there without needing to fix it. And that, in some strange, aching way, is your gift to me. You taught me how love can hurt and still be worth it. I see you in everything now, not in the way that makes me crumble, not anymore, but in the way that makes me pause, reflect, breathe slower. When I see a couple laughing quietly at a cafe, I smile, not with bitterness, but with memory, because I had that once. We had that, and it was real. When I hear a song that used to be ours, I no longer turn it off. I let it play. I let it fill the space. I let it remind me that once upon a time, I was someone's favorite sound. And when the night is long and I feel the loneliness creep in like fog, I don't fight it. I let it sit beside me. I pour it tea. I listen to its stories. It speaks in your voice sometimes, and I let it. Because grief, I've learned, is just love with nowhere to go. And I still love you, not in the same way, not with the same hope, but with reverence, with grace, with the quiet understanding that some souls come into our lives not to stay, but to show us who we are when we love without armor. I was softer with you, braver, more alive, and I want to thank you for that, even if you never meant to give it, even if you didn't stay to see what your leaving did. Because it broke me, yes, but it also broke something open. And through the cracks, I'm starting to see light again. It's faint, fleeting, but it's there. You will always be a chapter I return to, not to relive, but to remember, to honor, to remind myself that I am capable of feeling that deeply, that fully, that vulnerably. And maybe one day, when I look back, I'll see you not as the one who broke my soul, but as the one who helped reveal it. You're still part of me, not in the way I once hoped, but in the way that matters. Quietly, completely, forever. Last night I saw you again, not in the way memories come, fragmented and foggy, but whole, alive, like time had folded in on itself and brought you back to me, just for a moment. You were standing by the window, exactly the way you used to, one hand tucked in your pocket, the other holding your coffee like it always belonged there. You turned and smiled, and it felt like breathing for the first time in years. It didn't feel like a dream. It felt like a return. The room looked like it used to when we shared it, quiet, golden, just before dusk. That soft amber light stretching across the walls, touching your face, outlining you like a memory that refused to let go. You didn't speak, but somehow I heard you anyway. Not in words, but in presence, in the way your eyes found mine across the silence, in the way your shoulders softened, like they remembered the weight they used to carry beside me. I reached out to touch you, and for a second, just a second, my hand didn't pass through. You felt real, and so did I, whole, known, found again in the very place I'd been most lost. We sat on the floor. You leaned back on your palms. I curled my knees to my chest, and nothing needed saying. We just existed in the space where words once built and broke everything. I forgot the world outside that room. I forgot you ever left. I forgot that this moment was borrowed from something long gone. You laughed, softly, the kind of laugh that lives in the chest, not the throat. It filled the space with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of you. You looked at me like you used to when we were still everything, before the unraveling, before the door, before the silence that stretched farther than we knew how to bridge. And I looked back at you the way I always had, with all of me. I wanted to say your name, but my mouth couldn't form it, as if naming you would break the spell, as if this dream, this fragile, perfect sliver of you would dissolve under the weight of something as simple as a syllable. So I stayed quiet, letting the moment hold me, letting you be near again, even if it wasn't real, because in that instant, I remembered what it felt like to be chosen, to be seen, to be loved by you, not in theory, not in memory, but now. And then the light changed, slowly, like evening slipping into night. You stood, your fingers brushed against mine as you moved to the door. A barely there touch, but it lit something under my skin, that old warmth, that ache of everything I've never unlearned. You turned to look at me one last time, and though your lips never moved, I swear I heard it. I never stopped. My heart stopped and started and cracked. And then I woke up. The room was empty, cold, still. My chest hurt in that quiet, devastating way that only dreams can cause. The kind of ache that makes you question which world is real. The kind that leaves your body hollow, as if it lost something it almost remembered how to hold. I laid there for a long time, trying not to cry, trying not to chase the remnants of you through my thoughts, trying not to replay every detail in fear it would fade. But it always fades, doesn't it? Even the most beautiful dreams slip away, no matter how tightly we try to grasp them. And all I could do was lie in the same bed where we once whispered promises we were too human to keep. I touched the space where you had been in my dream. It was just a pillow, just air, but to me, it still held your echo. I spent the day in a haze. Everything felt heavier, colors dulled, time dragged. It was like I had tasted something sacred and was now being asked to eat dust. No one noticed, of course. I've gotten good at hiding the storms behind my eyes, but inside, I was shattered. Not because I had seen you again, but because I hadn't realized how much of me still wanted you to return. Even now, even after all this time, even knowing it won't happen. That dream unraveled something I thought I had tightly wound. And maybe that's the cruel part of grief. It doesn't ask permission to return. It doesn't knock. It just walks back in, wearing your face, your voice, your smile. And I, foolish heart that I am, welcome it every time. I know you're not coming back. I know dreams aren't doors. But last night, for a breathless, infinite moment, I let myself forget. I let myself believe in a world where we found our way back, where you remembered, where I forgave, where we didn't end like this. And maybe that's why I write these letters. Not for closure, not for healing, but for the part of me that still waits in dreams, still stands at the window watching for the shape of you, still whispers your name into the quiet, hoping something hears, even if it's just the wind, even if it's only me. Because there are loves we let go of, and then there are loves that simply live on, in dreams, in echoes, in the silence between breaths. You were always that kind, and maybe I'll dream of you again. Maybe next time you'll stay a little longer. But for now, I'll carry the memory of last night, of your smile, of your eyes, of the way it felt, just for a moment, to be held by something that used to be home, even if it was only make-believe, even if it was only my soul remembering what my heart still mourns. This will be the last letter I write to you, not because there's nothing left to feel, but because there's nothing left to carry. I've held your memory like a candle in a dark room, protecting it from wind, from time, from the weight of letting go. I've written you into the walls of my silence, folded your name into every prayer I never said out loud, and kept you close in all the ways I knew how. But something shifted, not with a bang, not with clarity, just quietly, like the tide slowly pulling back from the shore after years of crashing in. I didn't even realize it at first. I just noticed I could walk past the cafe without that familiar tightness in my chest. I heard our song in a stranger's car and didn't turn away. I saw someone smile with your same crooked grin, and my heart didn't forget how to beat. That's not to say I've stopped missing you. I don't think I ever will. Some people don't fade. They settle into the bones, into the rhythm of breath, into the in-between spaces where language fails. You were that for me, still are in many ways. But I've learned that missing someone and needing them aren't the same thing. I used to believe love had to end in presence to be real, but I was wrong. Some loves end in memory, in quiet rooms, in pages we never turned. And still, they shape us. You shaped me. I've been tracing the outline of my own heart these days, relearning the contours that used to bend around you. I've found pieces I thought I lost, joy that doesn't ache, stillness that isn't lonely. I've even started whispering to myself in the voice I once reserved for you. And maybe that's what love becomes in the end, a return, not to the person, but to the self we abandoned when we gave everything away. You never asked me to lose myself for you, but I did, willingly, softly, desperately. And if I'm honest, I'd probably do it again. Not because it was easy, but because it was real. Because even in the breaking, I found something worth holding. I want you to know something. You were not a mistake. You were not a regret. You were a season of truth, a storm of meaning, a map I followed until I found the edge of me. And though you didn't stay, you left me with something more valuable than promises. You left me with the proof that I can love deeply, that I can feel fully, that I can break and still rebuild. I don't need you to feel the same. I don't need you to carry my memory the way I carried yours. I just needed to write this for the part of me that's been sitting by the window, waiting for a return that was never mine to expect. Because now, finally, I can let her stand up. I can let her leave the window and walk toward the sun. I don't hate you. I don't even blame you. If anything, I thank you for loving me in the ways you could, for teaching me how to see someone fully, for showing me what it means to open without expectation. You taught me how to hurt and how to heal. I still have days where I think of you and feel the familiar ache, but it's softer now, like a scar that only stings in the rain, a reminder, not a wound. And that's what I want to leave you with. Not a story of sorrow, but a story of depth, of what it means to be human, to love and lose and still wake up tender, to carry someone long after they've left and still find the strength to bless them in your silence. You were my love story, even if you were never my forever. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all we ever get. Moments that matter, people who change us, and the grace to keep going even when the ending wasn't what we hoped. So this is it, the final page. Not a goodbye, but a gentle closing. I'll always remember the way your laughter felt in my ribs. I'll always carry the echo of your voice in the corners of my dreams. I'll always hope the world is kind to you, even if you never look back. But I'm done writing letters to someone who no longer lives here. I'm done waiting at doors that don't open. And I'm ready, finally, to walk forward. Not away from you, but toward myself. And if your soul still listens, even faintly, even from a distance, know this: you were loved, still are, but from this day on, that love belongs to me now.